Welcome to The Ancient Way. I'm James.
I'm Marlia.
Yep, dead silence. Dead silence. In this episode, we are going to be tackling immaturity, but also, hopefully, how do you navigate immaturity? How do you let go of immaturity and kind of move away from it if you're operating in it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond when someone is throwing crayons at you? Temper tantrums, that kind of stuff. Because it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
People grow up. You got 60-year-olds acting like a 2-year-old. So how do you navigate that? Anyways, I'll preface it with a story.
Let's do it.
A very small story. One thing that I think is extremely immature, something that I really don't like. If there's like top 3 things I don't like in this world is disrespect. Where you talking down to somebody, get your feelings hurt because somebody doesn't measure up to what you want, what they want you to be. I can't stand disrespect. Well, the other day, and I've had a situation, I'll tell you this will be one that'll kind of lead into it. One time, a lot of it comes from old people, in my experience, really. There's an entitlement thing.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you're old, but that really doesn't, it's no measure of much. I had a guy the other day call me, and met him 2 weeks ago. He calls me and is like, hey, is my stuff ready? I've been trying to call. You hadn't answered. He's really, upset about it. And I'm just like, yeah, sorry, man. I'm not not the only one here. There's other people. Sorry we missed you, basically. And then I just said, so have I met you? I said, you've been up here. Have you seen this place? Have I met you? And he goes, well, yeah. Shook your hand and everything. In my mind, I don't remember this. I meet so many people. But in that little tone there, I'm like,
oh, yeah,
you're that upset that, even to say like, I shook your hand. You should remember me for the rest of your life. Now we shook hands. It was this offended thing. It was just really.
I touched you.
Yeah. And I talked to Jake after that and told him, because, he's worked at the gym before, and, you have too. You get these people sometimes that have this entitlement thing, and we were talking about it, and the way you really deal with it is from the moment they come in with that little attitude, you don't get on that level.
Mm-hmm.
You don't throw crayons back. And here's an example. One time, an old man came in with an issue, and he was like, you could tell he had premeditated his temper tantrum with me and had rehearsed it prior. You just knew it. And so he comes into the office, and I hear him talking crap about me and stuff up in the lobby. He doesn't know I can hear him. Well, he comes in, lip quivering. This is like a 60-something-year-old man. Like lip quivering madness. And he comes in, and he's like, you owe me this. I have this right, blah, blah, blah. And my reaction to it was like, I was like, oh, okay, well, stuff happens. We'll try to do better. It was just I'm not catering to this. I was like, all right, is there anything else I can help you with? Just like a grown-up talking to a kid.
Yeah.
And not taking the bait on it. He snapped out of it. And now when he comes in, we're like best friends.
So funny.
He talks to me. He didn't talk to me before that. It was like, I'm a grumpy old man. You do your job and you help me, cater to me. We're not connecting. But now it's a respect thing. And he doesn't act that way. Tells me about his family and stuff.
That's sweet.
Anyways, 2 long stories to start this off.
It's not long stories.
Yeah. That's one example of how to handle one, though. It's like, don't play on that field. Anyways,
yeah.
What is your...
I think there's an element, right? Because we all were immature at one point.
Sure.
Maybe some of us still are.
Yep.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
I just think about like even going through the scriptures of what does it mean to be immature? Uh-huh. 1 1 Corinthians 3 is dope in the Passion Translation, by the way. But it's talking about a call to spiritual maturity.
Mm.
I think that maturity, I'm going to read some of it
Yeah.
in just a second, but there's components for me that like you could be spiritually, I don't know if you can be spiritually mature
Mm-hmm.
and not also be emotionally mature.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because I think that would,
Yeah.
the emotional side of things will cap the spiritual side of things.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because just because you have a revelation of something doesn't mean that you're mature.
Yeah.
Like you will know them by their fruit.
Right.
Their fruit, it's the fruit of the Spirit that judges, are you being mature?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you being immature? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. The more spiritually mature you are, I think emotionally mature has to play a part in that.
yeah. Because if you can't keep your love on towards someone,
Yeah.
like it doesn't, I mean,
Emotional's capped
yeah.
if the spiritual's capped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I think it's too,
Could be both.
yeah, because if you're emotionally, right, if you're emotionally unstable,
Mm-hmm.
that means that you're going to have situations that trigger you left and right.
Yeah.
You're not going to stay in love. You're going to quarrel. You're going to backbite because you're emotionally not healthy.
Yeah.
I don't think you can be spiritually mature.
Yeah.
And I don't think, because I think spiritual maturity is only how much of the Lord do you reflect.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the amount of experiences you've had,
Yeah.
the types of experiences you've had,
Right.
the revelation that you get.
Yeah. It's far simpler. Yeah.
Yeah, it's how much of Him do you embody,
Yeah.
and He is wholeness.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you're not emotionally stable,
Sound.
yeah, emotionally intelligent,
Yeah.
I don't think you can fully navigate the things of the Spirit.
Mm-hmm. Responsibly. Yeah.
Not responsibly,
Yeah.
because it'll end up damaging people.
Yeah. That's right.
I love this. So it says in 1 Corinthians 3, he said, this is Paul. He's savage sometimes, but I like the way that the Passion puts it. Well, actually, I'll read one.
Yeah.
He said, brothers and sisters, when I was with you, I found it impossible to speak to you as those who are spiritually mature people.
Yeah.
For you are still dominated by the mindset of the flesh. Because you are immature infants in Christ, I had to nurse you and feed you with milk, not with the solid food of the more advanced teachings, because you weren't ready for it. In fact, you're still not ready to be fed solid food, for you are living your lives dominated by the mindset of the flesh. I love this part. He says, ask yourselves, is there jealousy among you? Do you compare yourself with others? Do you quarrel like children and end up taking sides?
Wow.
If so, this proves that you are living your lives centered on yourselves, dominated on the mindset of the flesh, and behaving like unbelievers.
Wow. Yeah.
And then he's like, for when you divide yourselves up in groups, a Paul group, an Apollos group, you're acting like people without the Spirit's influence.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Isn't that dope, though?
Can you read those again? The immature, like jealousy.
Yeah. It says, ask yourself, is there jealousy among you? Do you compare yourselves with others? Do you quarrel like children and end up taking sides?
All of those things, jealousy, comparison, quarreling, is like
Picking sides.
Yeah, picking sides. Those are all similar.
Yeah, it's the me versus you, or the
pitted people against people. Yeah, it's a straight wedge driven right in the middle.
Yeah.
And acting out of it, coming into agreement with the separation. Whether it's internal comparison or jealousy, that's internal as well. Quarreling is like the act of it. Yeah, separation and selfishness and the tree knowledge of good and evil. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize how related those things were.
Yeah, man.
But that's immaturity.
Yeah. I love, and so Galatians 5, it also goes into, and I think this is also a comparison, is like a life of freedom.
Yeah.
That's Galatians 5. It's literally, so to me, like 1 Corinthians 3 is like, okay, this is what immaturity looks like. But the life of freedom, it says, well, this is what, I'll get into this, but it says, the one who enfolded you into his grace is not behind this false teaching you've embraced. Don't you know that when you allow even a little lie into your heart, it can permeate your entire belief system? For the law can be summarized into one grand statement: demonstrate love to your neighbor, even as you care for and love yourself. But if you continue to criticize and come against each other over minor issues, you're acting like wild beasts trying to destroy one another. Let me emphasize this. As you yield to the dynamic life and the power of the Holy Spirit, you will abandon the cravings of your self-life.
Wow.
I just think that's so...
That is great.
Yeah. But I think immaturity looks like division.
Yeah.
It looks like biting and devouring. I think it looks like criticism.
Yeah.
It looks like jealousy.
Yeah, selfishness.
Yeah. I think that's the summation of it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what about me? And it's always rooted in offense. Like, I think that if you're offended about something, there's probably a place of maturity that needs to happen in that area.
Oh, yeah. Here's something that I've seen people that you would think are respectable and mature. And I've had this happen recently as well. I've seen people say, and especially when it comes to money, money gives you permission to be an animal, it seems.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me. Even if you're a Christian or claim to be a believer and that kind of stuff, it's like when it comes down to money, it's like, I will kill for this.
Yeah.
I will hurt somebody over a dime, you know? And I had this happen to me recently. An older man, once again, is an older man, but it's with everybody. But we talked and had conversations, stuff like that. There's some little trust there. And then like comes back, I had some emails and that I missed one of them. And then I finally caught up to these emails, read one. And it's like, I will pursue legal action. And I'm like 0 to 100. Okay, well now I don't trust you, which I didn't have to anyways. But now it's like, okay, you wanted help from me. It's like, I wouldn't recommend you to anybody, to my enemy, because of the shadiness of that, the divisiveness. It's like 0 to 100. But if you find yourself so selfish to where it's like, oh, you touched my money, I'm going to get you.
Oh, yeah.
Think about, like, sit back and what Paul just said, the spiritually immature, the jealousy, the comparison, the quarreling. Do you fit into that category when you're acting that way? Would Jesus do that? If somebody took 50 cents from his pocket, whatever that looks like, would he say, oh, okay, I'm going to pursue legal action. I'm going to sue you. If he wouldn't do that, then why do we allow ourselves to act that way?
Totally.
And I've seen that in multiple arenas. Personally, that one's been stewing on my heart for a while now.
Yeah.
And even, we've had the conversations about money. It's a tool to be used. How do you wield it? It's like a gun. It's like the internet. It's like, what's the heart behind it?
Totally.
But if you allow yourself to be run over and have money have its way with you and give you permission to be an animal, you might check on that.
Yeah. I think that's it is interesting that you say it like that. It's like money is a weird one.
Yeah.
And we did an episode that money disappeared.
Yeah. It was gone. Yeah.
But one of those things is that money is an exchange of value.
Yeah.
And it's almost like people feel like their value is being threatened if you take their money.
Right.
Or like if accidents happen or people, it's just, it's kind of bizarre when that happens. It's like the ultimate threat to their person.
Yeah. Well, they claim that as their person and as the measure
Mhm.
of their value.
Yeah.
Even look at, elite, rich, very, very rich people.
Yeah.
Not all of them are like that, but sometimes there is that class system thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're poor, if you're poverty stricken and you see those people, is like, it's weird.
Yeah. It's almost like you are giving yourself permission to criticize
them because they have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting what money can do.
Mm-hmm. I think it just exposes it uncovers real agreements
Yeah.
that we've talked about.
Right.
It's like, you've come into agreement that you are better than other people
Yeah.
if you have it, or you're justified in being a complete jerk
Yeah.
because somebody quote unquote took something from you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like we come into all these different agreements
Yeah.
that just seem to uncover the immaturity.
Right. Yeah. And it's all across the board too. I heard a story I meet some people who've had some experiences in big boardrooms and stuff like that. And there was one story I heard. It was a couple of executives and it was over a bunch of money, but it got cutthroat to the point of like, I will end your career. I will end your reputation level. Almost like I will kill you. It was that level. I will effing kill you. It's specific if I'm using words.
Yeah.
It was that level. People that are running a corporation or something somewhere in one of those big tall buildings with a suit on somewhere. Is that not crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, is that not just insane?
Yeah.
But what is the...
I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, go.
But it's just been a thing that's come up. And
Mhm.
and I've even, the people I hear these stories from, well, they'll talk about it like, which is a relief to me to hear it from somebody else, like, look what money can do to people,
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange. But then it's like, what's the antidote to it?
I think for me, I still think money is just a vehicle,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so people will use that vehicle for destruction. You may have a ton of it, but if you still have character flaws,
Yeah.
those character flaws are going to come out. It's probably just coming through the vein of money.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it will get bent out of shape about money.
Yeah.
But because that seems to be the touchiest thing.
I know it.
I mean,
It really is.
you and I have talked about it. It's like just bizarre things that will come from people. Like kind of just everything that we've been saying is like permission to be immature
Yeah.
about money.
Right.
Whether it's you have it or you don't have it or you feel like somebody stole it from you or, I mean.
Yeah. And it's like one of these characters that threatens to sue James for something that he had no clue of. Which, it's like you do that, and then what? Do you feel good?
For real.
Do you
Does that
feel
make
good
you feel
about
better?
yourself? And I'm thinking like and the funny thing is it was such a minute amount. And I'm thinking, I can't imagine it because I try to put myself in positions.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, maybe if there's some point in time where it calls for something, I don't know because I haven't been there. But in my mind, I'm like, if it's something that small, I'm not going to stomp on somebody. I'm not willing to kill somebody for that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it.
It's crazy.
I also have some money grids growing up. So I have some money issues that we talked about in that imaginary disappearing episode.
That was weird that it ghosted like that.
It was gone. My routine.
I know.
I export it like right here when it's over. Export to that little card that I put in the back. Have a track record. I think a pretty good track record. Gone.
I think it was supposed to be gone.
Maybe it was.
This fits better in context of it.
I think so, yeah.
Because I do think that everything is about I was just talking to my sister today about this, actually, about how everything is an issue of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
right? So regardless of whatever matrix situation you want to say is
Yeah.
like here, and you can point out how much everybody else sucks, and
Yeah.
maybe they do,
Yeah.
but it's like, what can I be responsible with, and what can I cultivate in my own space right here,
Yeah.
and just lean into that so I can grow, so I can be mature.
Yes. Right.
And she was like, well, if they're not going to be mature about it, then there's no point to doing it. And I was like, yeah, but
Interesting.
I think it brings a level of not allowing your life to be lived by the expectations or the responses of other people.
Yeah. It's like, can you be solid without anyone else participating in it?
Totally.
Can you have that integrity?
I think that's maturity.
Even without anybody knowing it.
Yeah.
No one could ever know, ever. You just be that anyways.
Yeah.
Something to that.
Totally.
Another thing on this subject, I knew we were going to talk about this. I've worked in places. Oh, it gets me. There are so many things that you grow up with, and it's like, this is the way it is. This is 100%.
This is the way.
The customer is always right. Have you heard that one?
Oh, yeah.
That is a weird one. I took a note on this. This is our saying of the week that we're going to maybe poke at. I wrote, the customer is always right, is basically saying, make $1 by any means necessary. If the customer is wrong or out of place, you adhere to that. You agree with what they're doing and don't ask questions. And it's greed disguised as service. Now, I understand service, excellent service, is a thing that we should all have and, operate in.
Totally.
But if it's something that is shady or whatever it is, or a customer, I've had customers. I used to work at a store, like a little grocery store. We had some ridiculous customers that I'm like, the customer's not always right. That customer's a person like I'm a person, and you need to have respect on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a drive-through, you go to a grocery store, you treat that person with respect, as if they're your child, as if they're your brother, your mother, whatever that is. Anyways, but it's like that saying is like, I wrote this down too. Yeah, make $1 by any means necessary, even at the cost of that person's integrity.
Mm.
If I'm the boss and my employees down here, it's like, if it costs you your integrity, you make that money. You do that.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
That is weird.
But it's under the disguise of service, of customer service, So I disagree with that one. That one's
not okay.
Not okay. The customer is not always right.
Yeah.
They aren't. Anyways, sorry. Oh, it's funny. But it's a respect thing. And it's an integrity thing. It's not all about money. There are things that go far deeper and have much more of an impact and a value.
I think that's interesting, the whole respect deal.
Yeah.
You were hitting on that, and it got me thinking of like, I think respect is often overlooked in so many aspects, and we're like supposed to just give way to, well, it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they were extremely disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like, don't draw that boundary. Don't hey, that's actually not okay. But it's like, what if by you drawing a boundary and you telling the customer that you're not always right is actually a form of respect?
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a good check-in to get somebody to even understand. People will go into these cycles of acting a certain way, and they won't snap out of it unless they get hey, man, you're acting kind of, or that, or hey, you're not going to talk to me like that.
Totally.
Or you're not going to talk to that person that way. Maybe it takes, and sometimes they snap out of it. Just like that old man. It's like, now we're best friends.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, maybe I was acting, maybe I can't get away with that, but it snaps them out of a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul, it's respect for him to say, hey, I'm speaking to you on this level of maturity. It's a protection, a responsibility, and a respect to do that sometimes.
Well, to me, yeah, it's like, it's respectful when you're clear.
Yeah.
Paul, I love that thing that
he was
Brene,
honest in there, yeah.
Like Brene Brown says that, like, clear is kind.
Yeah.
Like, most people would be like, well, that's disrespectful. Don't tell me I'm immature.
Yeah.
Like, but he's like just being very honest
Yeah.
and very clear about
Yeah.
it. It's like, hey, that I'm having to talk to you in a certain way because you can't hear me,
Yeah.
but I'm still going to talk to you. I'm
Yeah.
still going to try and communicate
And
this
it's
thing.
with the hope that they'll grow into that too.
Yeah.
And the teaching and that kind of thing and the questions.
Yeah.
And one thing that is good to think about is like, do you not understand that person in front of you is this wellspring of eternity and destiny? They are this infinite being right in front of you. It's not just a transaction or a thing.
Totally.
It's like, no, man, that's a very complicated and love created thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's someone that God made with a
Totally.
specific destiny. That's your brother, it's your sister, it's your family, that person. Look at them that way,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're acting crazy. But I think that's respect. Respect is an aspect of love.
Totally.
And it's the hierarchy of God.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's the head, we're the body. It's a level playing field.
Yeah.
Money, don't see. We're not measured by that.
Yeah, that's the wrong stick. Wrong measuring stick.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, man.
Yeah, it is.
I love relational dynamics and people dynamics, and
Yeah.
there's just so much to grow from in that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's why God literally kept it so simple, like love me and love people.
Yeah. That's
It's like you needed something that simple to measure.
That's your prerequisite for measurement. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'd be fun. Sit in those questions that I listed earlier. See what happens. Just, is there anything in your own heart that's kind of manifesting in that?
Yeah. Check it. And that's something, that's something I do.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
And especially if a situation arises or there's a conflict or something,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, hey, the one thing you have control over is yours,
Totally.
That's even interesting too, because when the money gets touched, it's like, I'm going to protect mine.
Yep.
There's the healthy side of it is I'm going to handle my stuff. I'm in control of how I react to this, which is almost like the outward version of that. The other one is like pull in, self-protect. This one is the outward, like I'm going to be healthy for them.
Totally.
Yeah. Good.
It is very good.
It's good.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all next time.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Ancient Way podcast, drop us a like, share with your friends, share with your family. And if you would like to support us and what we are doing, and you would like to play a direct role in our growth and things that we do in the future,
We have a donation spot at the bottom of our show notes, so you can click on that, give however much you want. We appreciate absolutely everything. We appreciate our listeners, and everybody that's already come alongside and encouraged us, and even everybody that's been on our show. So thanks, guys.